This short video covers the installation of our application, Eclipse S1000D for FrameMaker, onto FrameMaker. It's very important that Eclipse S1000D for FrameMaker is installed correctly. We find that this is not the case sometimes. This video demonstrates how you should install the Eclipse application for the first time. The video covers the installation on a standalone computer. There is a separate video which covers how to update your installation of Eclipse S1000D for FrameMaker. Before you actually start the installation, we should talk perhaps a bit about the installer. The installer is actually a single file, a single .exe file, and it's contained in the zip file that you downloaded. Now, you would have actually either downloaded it from the Meacon F-Type-B site or been sent to it on a CD. Before you start the installation, you should also check FrameMaker. Now, what you should do before you actually start installing is to check that FrameMaker is set up correctly. First of all, you should have installed it properly. Secondly, the FrameMaker application should have all the update patches applied to it. You can get those from the Adobe site. And thirdly, the Adobe FrameMaker must be configured to operate in the structured mode, and we'll see how that's done. So you get a zip file when you download it, and there's two files located in there. There's the Eclipse S1000D for FrameMaker installer. Now that'll have a file name, something like Eclipse S1000D for FM, version 10.0 release. The version number is included in the file name. The other file that's in there is the Eclipse S1000D for FrameMaker installation guide. Now that's actually a PDF file, and you'll need Adobe Acrobat to view it. You should look at that before you start the installation. It'll give you an indication of actually what's needed. Most of that is covered in this video. What we'll do now is to have a look to see how we can ensure that FrameMaker is actually set to the structured mode. What you can see here is FrameMaker 2015. And what we're going to do now is to check that in fact it has got itself set, that it's been set to structured mode. So under the Edit menu, go to Preferences, and you'll see there the Preferences menu. And under General, you'll see Product Interface is set to Structured FrameMaker. And you should ensure that that's what it is, and click OK to make sure that that actually is at that point. Having made sure that your installation of FrameMaker is set to the structured view, it's now necessary for you to find out, in fact, if you have the latest patches installed. You can find out whether, in fact, you do have the latest patch installed by going to Help, this is Windows 2015, and going then to the Updates option. When you click on that, a window opens and it will go and check online to see if you've got the latest patches installed. When it's finished checking, you'll get a window something like this, and you'll see here it says your application is less than a letter case. So you know that this patch is installed if that was that one to update. Having made sure that FrameMaker is now set to the structured mechanism, we're now going to cover the installation of Eclipse itself. And now, although it's actually a single file installer and the installation carries on straight the way through, the installation actually does have several stages to it. First of all, you have to run the installer, then agree to the terms and conditions. And then you should select the type of installation. Standalone is the one that we're going to be covering. Then you should choose the items you need to install. And then choose the version of FrameMaker for the target. Send the pack code to Meacon customer support, and you'll see what that is in a minute. And then install the license key when you get it back. Locate the installation file. I have that in a folder here which I've called installer. And then you should make sure that you run it as an administrator. So we click on Run as Administrator. That ensures that everything gets installed correctly. Do I want that? Of course I want it to be installed properly. So at this point what we're doing is we say that we need to have installed Eclipse S1000D for FrameMaker. We'll click on the next. Because it's the first install and we're doing it for a standalone license, we must click the top button there, agree to the terms and conditions, and then decide what version of FrameMaker it's going to be installed on. And it will automatically detect the latest version of FrameMaker that's installed. Here we've got it on 2015. Now we need to decide what we're going to install. The issue 1, 2, 3 and 4 refer to the S1000D issues. Shipdex I'm going to accept, ISOView I'm going to say I want, and Mecon database integration. So having selected those, then we click on next and it starts the installation process. Now there are one or two things that come up during the installation process that we'll need to look at, but let's wait for those to turn up. As you can see, it's actually now installing this information. These are all the files that it's going to install in the Mecon area of the program files x86 area. It's all the templates and things like that that you need to have there. When it's done that, it'll then start FrameMaker. Because at this point, it starts to install files within the actual application itself. And this log console starts up to keep you informed of actually how far through the installation process it's got to. So it sorted itself out the original parts, which is adding information to the actual folders themselves. Now it's making changes to the FrameMaker structured apps file. This is a very important file because without that file and without this information being put in there, the application will not work. So what I'm going to just allow this to run. When we get to the end of the installation process there, we need to carry on with it, and we do that by clicking in the external part there. If I let me move that up. No, I don't want to restart the computer. Let's finish now. When the installation program gets to the end, we have this no, do you want to restart the computer? Once again, it depends. Mostly you won't need to do that. So we'll select the no. It gives us a warning that there might be some malfunctions, but we'll leave it at that. So there's the console, which we haven't shut. It got to the end of that, it went straight through that, and what we were able to do then was to say no to that. So that is the application installed and updated. At this point, all the necessary changes have been made to the FrameMaker files. And what we need to do now is to locate the pack code so that we can send it to Mecon for a license. So we've now got FrameMaker with the Eclipse S1000D software installed, and you can see that we've got a new menu item at the top of the picture here. This menu item gets added when the installation is completed. So what I'm going to do now is to click on that, and what we need to do now is to go down to this area here called licensing. Click on that, and as you can see now, what we have here is a new window that is licensing configuration. What we need to do is to copy that number there, the product application code, product activation code, and we need to send that to Mecon customer support. That's support@mecon.com, and they will then send you a license key. So ignore what is in here. This is my personal license key. We should say at this point that the pack code is individual for each machine that you have it installed on. They are completely different. So what you need to do then is to send that information there to Mecon so that they can give you the license key. When Mecon receives the pack code from you, they will put that into the license generator, and that will then generate the necessary license key for you. They'll put that into an email and send it back to you. So you'll need to have that to hand when you do the next stage. When we get to the end of the installation process there, we need to carry on with it, and we do that by clicking in the external part there. If I let me move that up. No, I don't want to restart the computer. Let's finish now. Where the end user of this application is not the person who installed it, then this next step may well be necessary, copying the structured apps file, FrameMaker structured apps file, to the user structured apps area. Where the end user of this application is not the person who installed it, then this next step may well be necessary, copying the structured apps file, FrameMaker structured apps file, to the user structured apps area. So here now you can see FrameMaker 2015, and it is running on a machine which has Windows 10 installed. So there is that need, because of the way Windows 10 works and the way FrameMaker 2015 works, to copy that material from the structured apps file into the user area. And we achieve that by going to the Eclipse S1000D menu and then just clicking on the copy FM structure to user structured apps. And you will see, once again, you'll recognize this as the log console that we create, and you'll get the message which tells you what's happening and what it's doing. So you can see that it's actually copying the material through to the user area structured apps file. So you can see now that it's actually got to the end of its process, the last bit here, and it's now disconnected. So we can shut this down, unless you particularly want to save the log. And so now it says copied the structure apps file. Now what's going to happen now then, when I click on OK, it will then shut FrameMaker down, so that in fact FrameMaker then can restart and read the user's structured apps file. We won't restart it now because that's the end of the installation process. So having sent the pack key to Mecon, received the license key and pasted the license key into the license area and carried out the procedure which you've just seen, your copy of Eclipse S1000D for FrameMaker is now fully functional. That's the end of this installation video. I hope you found it useful. There is another video to show how you update from one version of our Eclipse S1000D for FrameMaker to the next version.